What is up? Welcome back to the SuperCoach Experience podcast. I'm your coach, Brandon Savage, the coach of the Xavier Turbos. I am coming off a shocker of a week, saved by Daddy Garrick. I am joined here by somebody who was also having a shocker week, had Payne Haas, and then later I looked on Monday and saw he didn't have Daddy Garrick.
Yeah.
So this is my first time speaking to him. Timmy Moody, the coach of the Villi Army. How are you feeling? You got Payne Haas, no Daddy Garrick. What's the feeling like? It feels like in the past I would have been like, okay, I'm writing you off for this episode, but yeah, you've really turned a corner this year.
It was a dark place. The whole weekend was really dark. I mean, to end it with the Garrick thing was just an absolute nightmare. I've never had such a what feels like a bad week just across the board, behind par, all of that, but the carnage that I have to deal with going into this week as well. So, yeah, for me, it was just a tough watch. Yo underperformed to start with. He updated to 56, which is still pretty average, but 40. And it was a rough, because I kind of just sold him. It would have been a lot different. I could have made things work differently rather than selling Garrick. But
you sold Garrick?
Yeah.
Oh, that makes it even worse.
What, do you think I just didn't have him to start with?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I sold
Oh,
Garrick.
no.
So it was a big weekend stress over between selling Turbo or Garrick, and if I had my time over again, I would be fucking Turbo right off, because that's the score I was scared of Turbo getting, is that 150, and it happened last week just through the player I sold. So
how did you feel when he scored that second try and then it felt like he just kept scoring tries?
Yeah, well, the first try I was like, oh, there's no way, to try, and it's pretty early, and then the second try, I realised how chaotic it was. It felt bad, really bad at that point. I was like doing the maths. I'm like, fuck. And then there was one off a kick, and I'm like, oh, at least it's off a kick. And then the fourth one and doing the rock and the baby. And I wish Mr. and Mrs. Garrick the best with the baby. I really do. I just hope it's a real big crier and keeps Garrick up as much as it.
As much as it kept you up.
It's kept me up over the last couple of nights. I have not slept much, man. I look at the time and I'm like, oh my God, it's like 2:30. I've got to go to bed. And I'm just staring at the wall thinking about Garrick and the price that's gone. Like, he's going to jump in price. The reason I did it is the draw gets harder. Power game this week. It could happen again. It could totally happen again. But yeah, it's really tough. Like, it's not so much just that. Like, for me, you can deal with him, like you can get points back, but after such a bad week that I've had, I scored 967. I dropped like a big in the ranks. I'm down to 33,000, and
still ahead of me, mate.
And yeah, the carnage that I'm left with. You always, after a bad week, go, so I'll bounce back next week. And then when I look at what I've got, lines through, Watson, Cleary, Skelton seems to be named, but I don't know what's going on there. There was more,
Skelton, Cleary, Ponga's out with a buy.
Marju, yeah. There's like Hubner that's still working around, which is an annoying thing. Like, at this stage, he's a way better player than some of the others I'm going to be forced to. So it's going to be another tough week. So mentally, just trying to prepare for what I went through last weekend, it's going to probably happen again, because I'm really behind the eight ball this week. So I'm going to go through it twice. And then I just need to come out like a phoenix and fucking come from the ashes.
I think
after round 5 onwards.
I think from what you're saying there, this creates an important conversation. If you started behind the eight ball, what are you going for now? So it could go either way. It depends which route you go. Do you attack and try and get ahead and make your way back, or do you fix your problems in your side and just consolidate for now and then strike later when you feel like you're in a better position? Because I feel like this is why when people start off bad and start to panic and do panic trades, this is when the season just gets completely out of control, when you're making stupid trades that don't matter, that in any other week you wouldn't do.
Yeah.
You'd be getting the safe guy, but you don't want to get the safe guy because you feel like you're behind. We're only 3 weeks in. Like, for me, I'm only 500 points behind first, which is crazy. Like,
is that all it is?
Yeah, it's only 500 points behind first.
Oh, I feel like I'm 500 points behind nearly everyone else I look at. So
yeah, exactly. Maybe it's 600, but it's still like over 24 rounds. There's still a lot of room to make up. And yeah, you might have not got your starting side right, but I feel like this is going to be a big topic of the day. And like, for me, in the last 4 years, at this time, I'm usually 2000th or something like that, and I'm ready to strike. Whereas I'm facing adversity, and I'm not playing at home, so I've got to learn to play away from home, and you got to adapt to the times. And I feel like the 3-gun fullback strategy, I feel like it would have worked, but I chose the wrong person in Reece Walsh, and I'm still holding on to him, just hoping that. I think he's got a bit of the yips, doesn't he?
Yeah, it feels a bit like just a bit in his head, a little bit low on confidence, a bit like Nico last year sort of thing, a bit how I'm feeling at the moment. Just doubting yourself, low on confidence.
Yeah.
Throwing some, crazy balls like Garrick out. So, yeah, that sucks. I think you asked me a question at the start of that monologue, which was something to do with what do you do in this situation?
So what's the plan? Are you going to attack and risk going further behind and just completely writing off the season, or do you consolidate?
Yeah, look, I think if I didn't have too many injuries this week, I'd be probably just keeping calm and just sort of making the next big trade, the right trade to my team, rather than sort of going, all right, I need to go a really wild pod now. I need to get 2 different fullbacks. I need to get Adam Reynolds in the half. I need to get all these different positions. I'm not saying that these other positions are no good, like Adam Reynolds could be a good thing, hey. So, but for me, I just think the situation I'm in, I know I can't do much about it this week. I can only sort of just try and make the most of a bad situation and try and not make it a complete 200 to 300 loss again, but try and get closer to par if possible. But from there, I guess after that, there's been a lot of thought about that. Do I start getting a bit crazy? Do I start getting a bit wild? But I think when I won, the thing I did was just try and make my side, the weakness in my side week after week, stronger, and get rid of that weakness. If it was like, oh, that guy's costing me and I'm having to play him and it's for a 30, I'd find another way to get someone else into my side to play that was better to play than him, or whatever it might be. And I'd just sort of gradually keep doing that. Whereas over the last couple of years, I feel like maybe I've sort of, focusing a little bit too much on cash maybe. Because I feel like as much as...
There's so much on offer though, there's so much cash on offer.
I know there is, and you've got to preference cash as well, but I just feel like if you're picking the right players still, for the most part, and they're scoring well, they're going to make money. You know what I mean? You've got these other guys who've got low BEs that are going to sort of 2-week, 3-week little 100K, 150K gap, but sometimes you'll do too many of them and you're actually sort of going off course. You've got to do some of those. But for me, when I won, I feel like those cheapies that I brought in were just to complement the trades of the guns. It's kind of like, oh, I need to bring this guy and this guy in, so now I'm freeing up that, and oh, great, he's going to make money. So, yeah.
It's kind of like taking shots versus having regular beers throughout the day. Like, if you have too many shots early, you're going to be fucked by the end of the night. Whereas if you just stay steady with your beers through the whole night, you're going to last the whole night. Yeah. Whereas if you're doing shots all the time, you're just going to crash out and absolutely throw up in the stairs in the corner of an alley in Penrith and get raped. Oh, I should have said that. I should have said that.
Yeah.
Anyway, say no to rape. Said it again. Where do I go from here? Okay. Moving on from that, shots, beers over shots. I think that's what I've taken from this. But today we've got a few hot topics to go through. Obviously, we'll touch on that, like consolidate versus attack as we go on, as we talk more. I'm going to go through the TLT wrap, who wins from that cheapie wise, and then we're going to go through the hot topic, which is selling guns, because there are a lot of guns out this week. So we'll go through each gun and decide whether it's a smart idea to sell them or not. And I think it will be team-based a lot of the time as well. So totally. Let's go to the TLT wrap. Penrith versus Rabbitohs. Campbell Graham out. What a dagger for owners if you held on to him. That's just a kick in the dick. AJ is back. Laurie is at fullback. Tom Jenkins at centre. Trent Talau is named at halfback over Schneider. And Blaze Talangi is on the bench. He looked good last week, Timmy. So
Blaze
Talangi. Roosters versus Titans. Watson is out. Zach Docker-Clay at hooker. Keanu Keeney for the Titans are out. Broncos versus Dolphins. Katoni Staggs is back, and I only want to put his first name here because I love saying it. Gehamat keeps his spot. We've got Dragons versus the Storm, 3 p.m. on Saturday. Clemmer comes onto the bench. Hamish Stewart keeps his spot, $198,000 cheapie. Nick Meaney and Jerome Hughes are out. Grant Anderson at centre and Wishart at halfback. Cowboys versus Raiders. Robert Darby keeps his spot after a 34 on the weekend with no attacking stats. Joe Tarpanay comes back and Matty Nicholson keeps his spot on the edge. Sharks versus Bulldogs. Sharks, same 17 as fucking always. Ueli is out, but Hazelton is in though, so it's not actually the same as always. Nothing Supercoach relevant at the Bulldogs. Manly versus Para. Turbo is back. DC is named despite Manly absolutely shitting the bed there. Huge. Nathan Brown is on the bench and Sean Russell comes in for potential cheapie, Jordan Samrani. Kitione Katonga is on the starting edge, cheapie option for the Parramatta Eels there. Warriors versus Tigers, last game. Skelton is named, RTS is out. Very boring, nothing else there. The winners, Tom Jenkins, Gehamat, Hamish Stewart, Robert Derby, Matty Nicholson, Kitione Katonga. What are your big takeaways from there?
There's a lot to go through, I guess. Yeah, I guess Matty Nicholson is one I've sort of had penciled in from a couple of weeks ago, like that 2-try performance, and no tries from last week, but a solid score, 49, and he looks pretty good. So I don't think he's a must-have, one of those must-have guys, but I think he's just like one of those guys, if it helps free up some cash, he's a really good playable guy, so that could be super handy. Outside of that, Tommy Turbo, there's a lot of, for me, I was really tossing up on whether do I sell him last week, because I had to just doubt that if there's a bit of doubt in his mind and the hammies there, that I just was worried he wouldn't open up and he'd just sort of be a bit of a passenger. But
it feels like even if he comes back this week, is that going to be in the back of his mind?
It feels like I had that playing on the front of my mind all week, but
the weekend just gone would have been that had he played, right?
Yeah, and I think maybe like letting him play against a softer club like Parrot, like if it doesn't feel too great,
he'll just come off.
Yeah, and they can deal with it, sort of thing. But then, I was all really worried about it until I saw like a video of him doing like a mad 100-meter run, like a sprint, and that looked pretty open and nice moving. So, the thing that was just worrying about, like, is the history. Ooh. But for me, I kind of feel like they've said there was nothing there, so it's just because it's more of a doubt thing. Hopefully, he just has a good game, opens up, because otherwise it'll be very painful.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, interesting, because a lot of some good fullback options this week,
Yeah.
Happy and Gutho and Tui Pilotu in the CT dub. So there's a lot of good money makers had that sort of buy or only just going to play their third game this week. So anyone you've got like cheapie wise or anything like that you're keen on?
Well, I guess Tom Jenkins for the Penrith Panthers. I actually didn't note down whether Tom Jenkins took the spot of Casey McLean and where Casey McLean is at.
So he wasn't in the side. He wasn't in the starting side.
So Casey McLean isn't in the starting side. He's number 18. So looks like Tom Jenkins has won that spot, which is so crazy. I think you definitely wait this week, see how he goes. And even if he scores low this week and they win and Cleary comes back next week, he's probably still is a good option with a 90 in his average. Although, as we've seen in the past, there's a lot of cheapies. You don't have to get them all. I think
I don't think it's about a grab for me. If I was to get him, it could be just out of necessity, because just to make two other trades work, I would need to downgrade a centre winger to pretty much a bottom dollar cheapie, like bottom dollar. So he's pretty close to that. So that may work for me. It might be a bit of a trap where he doesn't get, named in a couple of weeks and falls back out of the side, because there is competition for that spot. And I don't know when everyone is returning to make it a full strength side. I guess that just sort of is Edwards.
Just to Edwards, but Laurie's in at fullback, so that'll be the only change. So I guess he's definitely a wait and see.
Yeah, I don't think he's far off too.
He's
either.
highly traded in this week, and he probably will play the left side. So he's running at the right side, which is usually Campbell Graham, but there will be. Sorry, I just got rid of it. There will now be Isaiah Tass and Michaeli Ravalawa, which is pretty poor defensively. So I'd be actually quite keen to get him in and play him on that left edge. Trent Talau is in the side for the Penrith Panthers.
It's a 1 week thing though, right?
Really nice. Maybe a draft pick. But yeah, Hamish Stewart, 198,000, has a negative 26 break even. 198,000. I was considering a downgrade from Royce Hunt, get a 50K price grab, but for me in the front row, maybe
could be a wasted trade. Hey,
it could be, yeah.
And I feel like he might just turn into be a bit of a
Royce Hunt, yeah,
trap. Not someone. He looks like he's got more points in him than Royce Hunt.
He's scoring 40s, but with Clemmer in the side, does his minutes reduce?
That's what I'm worried. He just sort of does not find his spot, and then it's not worth the trade. Yeah, if you're freeing up cash and bringing him in because you have to make other trades, I get that. Like if it's your third trade to bring in 2 other guns, you get around that.
Yep. Robert Derby is a cheapie for the Cowboys. Braden Burns is out injured. So
how long's that for? Any idea?
Pretty sure it was like a hamstring injury. So he's got a pretty extended
run. Magic sponge get into that one.
So we'll definitely wait and see on Robert Derby till next week. Matty Nicholson though, one of the most traded in players this week, 336K, 98 and 49. For me, I was looking at him after the Manly game. I think it was like 41 he was on. He updated to 49. The 41, I was like, geez, I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah, 49 looks so much nicer, doesn't it?
Updates to 8 points, you'll take a 49 for sure.
Yeah.
For me, it's the potential to downgrade someone and get 200K or upgrade a Charlie Guyman type person with 100K. So I think he looks pretty solid, has an extended run at Canberra. And I think in the second row, I think we've kind of haven't had that many options around that price. Like Sue Wong was an option. There was Nafahu White, obviously Corey Horsburgh, but a lot of them are front rowers. I really like Matty Nicholson.
And he looks like he's a really solid, second rower too. Like looks like a good play. Yeah.
Plays the Cowboys this week as well. So I think that's a nice solid play. Kitioni Katonga played 67 minutes on the weekend, was meant to get that starting edge role at the start of the year, but he was injured. His first week, he played lower minutes. I'll get them up right now, but I'm actually really keen on him. I really liked him on the left edge. He's playing on the right edge. Mitch Moses looks like he's going to be a bit longer than we expected him to be initially. So if you're expecting him to really hit it off the ground when Mitch Moses comes back.
He had one price rise already?
He hasn't. This will be the week because he missed round 1.
Okay.
He scored 38 last week in 67 minutes. So for me, I just want to wait one more week. I'm happy to cop another price rise, but if he scores closer to 50 in base, then I'll definitely look at him.
How much would he go up though this week?
He'll only go up about 30,000.
Okay.
So to 260. Because next week we also have Thomas Cant.
Yeah.
Who's 200.
Looks a lot like better option, huh?
Yeah, but also we don't know if KPP comes back. Does Frizzell go into the middle or does he stay on an edge? So I think I really want to wait and see that.
He looks very solid, so I feel like for
sure
playing him there, I can't see why they'd not give him a go.
Yeah, 100%. My SuperCoach app isn't loading at all. Is yours?
Oh, let me have a go. Yeah, I think I'm in.
Anyway, Kitioni Katonga is someone I'm very keen on, and they're the winners from the team list. But let's go into our hot topic of the week, and that's selling the guns that we want to this week. So Nathan Cleary, Connor Watson, Kalen Ponga, Dylan Lucas. Dylan Lucas is obviously injured, but have you toyed with the idea? Yo Brimson. Have you toyed with the idea of selling any of these guys?
Yo and Brimson. Yeah.
But they're playing.
Yeah, that's a pickle I'm in, So I think I've got 18 players before trades, and some of them are, quite unreliable. Like,
oh fuck, that's not recording. You're fucking kidding me.
The whole podcast?
The audio's recording, so we'll definitely.
Okay, so yeah.
Wow, what a dog shit episode.
So I have flirted with the idea of selling Yo and Brimson, who are probably not as commonly owned as guys like Cleary and Ponga. I think Yo and Brimson are still pretty heavily owned, and they're quite SuperCoach relevant. However, with Ponga, like I was just saying, no, I'm not selling him. He's got 1 week on the buy. But just because of just the moving pieces within my side and kind of panicking a little bit and going, geez, I could really make 3 strong plays if I sold Kalen Ponga this week and have 3 strong guns come into my side. But then it's kind of like, and I was looking at the draw, and I think Ponga goes into a easy game, then a hard game, then an easy game, then a hard game, and then so it's a bit mixed. But yeah, I don't know. If I did it, I could go like straight to Pappy or Gutho. I'd probably lean to Pappy, and then that could free up the cash to bring in 2 other guns without having to make a downgrade to just a cheapie. So there's a potential that's potentially on the cards, but that's where I'm going to have to do some deep soul searching again, because it's as much as you bring in some good guys. Like I nailed my trade-ins last week. Haas, Starling, and Arthurs was tossing up as Tamale as my 4th. So got the 3 right of bringing them in. But if you sell the guy in your side that scores the most that week, your trades aren't that good. So, yeah, so I've got to be concerned about. I know Ponga's not going to score any points this week 'cause he's on the bye, but there's small-term gain for long-term pain. So I've got to work about how long would I want to hold other people in that position. Would I be prepared to run with Yongi, Turbo, and Pappy for a bit, or do I then move Turbo maybe to Ponga in a couple of weeks when their draw gets harder? There's a lot of like sort of week to week. You can kind of plan ahead as much as you want, but it only really goes on how good the form is. So like if Turbo, blinds it this week and looks so good, he might be hard to sell against the harder clubs coming up. But if he underwhelms, I think we'll be all rushing to sell him the week after. So that's where it's a bit hard to forward plan. So it's like, could do this, could do that, could do this. But yeah, I think that could be on the cards. But Cleary for me, there's not enough value there, and it's a bit too risky. And like I could go to Hines, but I could also go to Hines via other ways, like via Jules, via Metcalf, or selling Watson and moving Sandon up. There's a lot of other ways I can do that. So that if I wanted to get Hines in, who potentially could be on the cards for me this week, it doesn't feel as I don't have to be chaotic and sell like a gun in Cleary to do that. What's your take on selling these guys? Is there any that, like for Watson, is also on the cards for me?
Yeah.
Because he had always been like someone I was like never really locked into.
He
was a
scored
placeholder. Scored the 100. I was like, well, he's got to stay here for his price rise, and I'll let him keep his spot while he keeps impressing me too.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, had that HIA, which sucked because he was like going to score quite well, I'd say. But yeah, in that sort of spot, because he's not going to play this week and he has that value, it might be a better play for me to do that. Like I've got to weigh up, do I sell Watson who's not going to play a week, or do I hold a player like Brimson or Yo, who I'm really kind of off Brimson more so. He looks like a just complete passenger. He's not involved in much, but I just know how quickly that can change in 1 week for an attacking player like Brimson, who can get a lot more ball all of a sudden and just start going for runs. And
Ali Leotawa, round 1 for me. Like he was someone who I actually wanted to hold on to eventually, but it just didn't make sense for me to hold on to him. But he's absolutely killed it. I actually don't regret it at all for selling him, because it allowed me to get the likes of Olaquatu, Tino, all these sorts of other guys in. But it's just there's so many players to fit into one. You can't have them all. But Payne Haas, is he one that you have to have? Because he's someone that I've tried to go without, and it feels like it's now or never for me to get him in, and he could be the guy that...
Yeah, it is very now or never. Like it felt now or never-ish a little bit last week, but then it was kind of like, I can always pay 50 up or whatever, or whatever it might be.
If he scores 60, then...
I'll reassess. I'll reassess him, yeah, because the thing is with a guy like Payne Haas, right, like he's in the forwards and pops out 100, hasn't really done that too consistently in the past sort of thing. You kind of expect it to come back a little bit, right? But he just looks so... And watching the game last week, in the first half, I was a bit like, it doesn't look as punchy as last week. Like the offload wasn't there. But then I looked at the score at halftime and I was like...
50.
Well, the score's good. But the minutes really... He played bigger minutes. And that's a thing too. I think Madge is sort of rotating between, not necessarily week to week, but sort of some weeks Carrigan might take on a bigger load, and then some weeks Haas will pull back and just sort of have a punchier role. So hard to read that, but he does look pretty good for going on there and, opening a can of whoop ass every week. Like from what we've seen just on, I know there's a guy on sample size in the past which has been pretty stock standard bumble. Looks good still. He looks better than everyone else, but he's taken it to that next level, and I think when you see the form like that, you've just kind of got to jump on it. If you want to, if you're going to go, just death ride and hope it goes against it, they're one of those ones that can really be like, I should have just done that. And it can't go too wrong for you doing it, because if it doesn't pan out, he's not going to lose too much value, and by the time he does look like he's going to, it might get closer to Origin, or if it's not quite up until that time anyway, you might want to get off him and go to someone else, but you've made a bit of money, and at least you haven't completely missed a boat like that, because it does seem like a safe, consistent ton.
Yep.
Not a ton every week, but like 80 looks pretty achievable.
Yeah, 100%. He could average way more than 80 every season. And it's funny, like my initial thoughts are if I skip Haas, what do I do? Like, how do I capitalize on the competition? You want all these high upside guys, but I'm looking at these high upside guys. It could easily go 35, 40 and 80 you're happy with. Haas is doing that with ease, 80 points. So you're better off just biting the bullet, getting him in. I think I will look at getting him in this week, but the trades I'm looking at doing are they're quite tricky. So back to our topic of who do we sell gun-wise. Yeah. I'm actually looking at selling Ponga and Cleary this week, which I hate. I hate it so much.
That sounds panicky. Like I'm all for it if it's not a panic mood and you're all planned, but like just know that
it does feel,
you don't need to get it back this week.
Yeah, 100% agree, but this allows me so selling Ponga and Cleary. Cleary goes to Hines because I don't want to play Sandon. I'm kind of off playing Sandon.
I feel you. I'm really burnt by Sandon.
Yeah,
I didn't play him for the 76. Thought, geez, he did that against Penrith, and I know it was a pretty open game, but I thought he'll be right here against the Lions.
I was never going to play him all year, but then I saw him score 71 against Penrith and 50 in the first round without looking great.
Yeah.
And I was like, bit
of upside.
He actually looked a lot better against the Warriors, to be honest.
And especially when a guy like Metcalf puts out 100 the week before, you kind of go, could he get to that next level?
Exactly. Yeah. So, I'm looking at selling Cleary to Hines just to fill that gap. And Cleary has the Cowboys when he comes back, but he's got 150 break even. So he'll lose 100K over the next 2 weeks with his 2 in his rolling average if he scores 80-80. If he scores 110, he still loses 60K, which is
not much.
It's not much, but it's also that takes him to 670K.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter.
Oh, I know, but still.
But for the trade out, the trade in sort of thing, it's a good move.
That'll line up with selling Sandon, Mamazelos, or Tom Starling in 2 weeks. Yeah. So, and then my other trade, what I'm looking at, we're doing the trades early, but I kind of need to talk through this.
Yeah, that's fine.
Ponga to Haas. It's my only avenue to Haas at the moment, and I'll be doing it through the flex position.
Yep.
And then I'll move Haas into the front row next week and be selling like a...
Jeez, I wish I backed my gut and did that last week to Turbo.
Yeah, like a Tom Gilbert or a Jack Williams to Ponga next week, or depending how Reece Walsh goes, maybe Walsh...
Oh, so he's going to rush straight back in, just get it back in.
Potentially. He does play the Bulldogs next week, so potentially can wait a week. Because defensively they're okay, but I don't know. I feel like the Bulldogs are
kind of not complete unit, are they? They're a little bit broken because they've got Kikau and Burton still out, and they are a little bit, but they're still quite a unit still. Yeah. It's tough, man. Like there's a lot of things this week that it's kind of like. You look at a player and go, I think he's just a guy, just get him in. Like for me, it's kind of like Hines, but then I look at it and go, the BE's not like terrible. I think it's like 39 or something. Like he's not going to go up too much unless he has a blinder, right? And which he could, and he probably. But then I'm like, he's also got the Dogs, so I'm kind of like, do I look elsewhere?
Dogs at points bet though,
and I'm like, yeah, I know, but I'm just kind of like, is there another player? Like, do I need to be looking at someone like a Pappy instead, who's just BE's now this, and there's kind of a window where he's cheap as chips and could be...
Goal kicking.
Yeah, and could be like what we consider one of the must-have of the 3, or even if two, like could be top 2. Like, it's only because the Storm are that good.
Yeah, and I've been guilty in the past of just overlooking these players just because of how they've done the last few years. But
and being a bit off them.
Pappy, he does look back. Like, to me, he looks quick. But, like, I like Reece Walsh is someone I don't want. Ponga is by far the number 1 fullback in my eyes. So I don't want to have him out of my side for too long. But, yeah, maybe Pappy is the play. Go like a Ponga to Pappy and then upgrade a Gilbert to Haas. Can I do that? Maybe.
Maybe you could.
What about a Cherry Evans play?
Well, do you know what? I'm really excited about him, and I think I'm really nervous about watching Garrett go around this weekend as well, because I can just see it happening. But DCE, I feel like with this moment, like almost kind of like it's kind of playing for a contract like on steroids, right?
Yeah.
And like because of how this has just sort of played out, I see him just going to an absolute next level for at least this 1 week. For like this one game, he's going to be off his chops, I feel like.
He plays Melbourne the following week, but he plays them at home, and his last 2 performances.
And the jaw's shit. So that's the reason I was like, as soon as I had a little bit of a thought about it, it gets the jaw's shit.
Yeah,
so
the last 2 performances at home for him, though, are 70 points and 104 against Melbourne, which you'll definitely take.
What rounds were they?
Round 12 and round 7.
So one of them's like bye time, isn't it?
Yeah, well, he doesn't play the buys, so because he plays Origin.
Oh, yeah,
His break even is 70, though. He's coming off 100 score.
True.
You're only making 20K by going Cleary to Cherry Evans. I would have loved to make a lot more from that trade. There's also the Adam Reynolds option.
Yeah.
612K. Does have the Dolphins this week. Negative. He has a 3 break even. We talked about him last week, and I just didn't think he could go another 100 score, but has the Dolphins this week at Suncorp. But then he plays the Tigers the following week at Suncorp, and then he plays the Roosters the following week at, guess where? Suncorp. So, like, I couldn't go that long without Cleary having Adam Reynolds in my side, but if you're going to have someone, the draw lines up.
They're playing red hot footy. It's a pretty friendly Supercoach game. Like, he gets a lot of forced dropouts. It just racks up quite a bit. He gets a lot of them.
Too.
Yeah, and then his try assists, they just seem to happen. You know what I mean? And they're just so, like, they're pretty consistent, I think. Yeah, and in that side too, him last year in that Broncos side's a different story because they didn't have the vibe. You go back and look at his scores at the Bunnies at some times, and he can go on some constant runs of tons. I was going back over the years, like ton, 98. You know, like, so he's got a bit of form. Yeah, I could consider him because I'd like to get in players like Pappenhausen. Like, if I had to name 4 players that are my top, like on the top of my lips at the moment, it'd be probably Pappenhausen, Munster, Hines, and Tino. So I can't do all 4, and there's a very good chance I can't do even 3 of those unless I get a little bit aggressive, like going a Ponga to. You know, Yo's probably going to go, but I kind of just want to hold him. He's got 120 BE. I kind of feel like I need to hold him
this week, eh?
Kind of feel like I need to hold him, eh? So I'm going to see if I can find another way. I don't think he's going to upset me and do like a 150 Garrick, but I think he could have like an 80, which I kind of would need this week. Yeah. It's not like, oh, damn, I sold him, but I kind of need it.
Yep, 100%. So the verdict is, like, what do you reckon? Sell? Like, especially like Ponga.
Team dependent.
Okay, so Ponga has the buy. Would you sell?
I think if you've got everything else going on for your side and you can field a really good side, right? Like, you've got a strong 17, don't sell Ponga just to get in, like, Pappy for a week. If you think that Ponga's the better guy and then you're going to find a way to get, you know what I mean? Like, so I wouldn't be doing any of those. If you're kind of in a bit of a tough place, like injury-wise, which is going to be a lot. Like, I'm sitting there making out I'm the only person in the world that's got Connor Watson, Cleary, Skelton, and I think I've got another one. But there's people that are going to have like RTS, and there's a few others that'll be in a worse position. They probably have to do something. I don't know which one's the right one to pull the trigger on. It all depends on, and it can be very team dependent too. Like, if you've got Hines already, I probably wouldn't be like selling Cleary to try get an Adam Reynolds or someone like that.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
Do you think, say you've got a Cleary with Sandon as your backup halfback, or Cleary with Humphreys as your backup, like that? That's probably different.
You just can play them though, because we got the flex, and I know like last week we needed about 5 flexes.
Yeah,
because I had I think about 5-6 scores under 30, or 34ish, you know, that sort of thereabouts. You can probably get away with it, you know, for a week. I don't think it's a panic station. Oh no, I've got Sandon. Everyone's got. You could just drown out, just play your best 17. Cleary feels a bit chaotic to me.
Yeah. I don't know what to do. My head's all over the place.
Because I just feel like there's other ways to get with the duels. Like not for every team, it will be harder, but with like a Luke Metcalf and then like a Connor Watson, some people will be able to do other things or sell a hooker, move Sandon up if you have to. Like who's the other,
and also
the other hookers aren't really ready to sell though.
The flex position is it's such a good thing to have where you can lock someone in there for this week. It doesn't have to be a third fullback, but
to bring in a guy you need to, which is kind of like what I wanted to do with Haas last week.
Well, it's kind of what I'm doing with Haas this week. Haas is going to go into my front row, and he's going to be in my flex this week.
Can I just bring something up now?
Yeah.
See now you passed on Haas.
Yeah.
So I might be passing on Tino, and it's like a dumb thing to do, like because he's 530 and the BE's right there. But I just feel like the way I'm moving, like the trade outs that I've got to do, I can only sell like Yo once. I've got, you know what I mean? And it's kind of like, if I sell Yo, move Watson down, and then move Sandon up to hooker to buy someone like Hines, or move Metcalf to halfback to buy Munster, then I have to then sell Connor Watson too. So there's a lot of moving pieces, and for me, it's more about this week, and I think for a lot of people, the ones you want to come in, get into your side, and some are going to have bigger BEs and demand, like, I kind of need to get this guy, but really kind of focus on which guy can I let go of. Because it's tough, because you do start with these guys for a reason, and then that's like I'm the prime example of like thinking, I don't really need Garrick, he's been a bit underwhelming, and then to be fair, like that was never meant to happen. Like that was a very unlucky situation with the way it played out, with it going down to 12 men and them scoring 30 points in that period.
And also no turbo as well meant that
going through it other ways, but that's making your own luck. You can probably foresee that, you know what I mean, happening potentially, but not just Ruben Garrick. There's other players there. Come on. If you said which one's scoring 4, do you think it's Saab, or do you think it's, you know what I mean? Well, give the ball to Saab. Give it on.
Yeah.
People bought him last week. I'm trying to make a cash grab.
Yeah, I'm pretty rattled, to be honest. I think
rattled as that's the name of the podcast this week. Rattled.
We're rattled, but we do the podcast, and I feel like in the last few years I've done really well. This is the first situation where like I'm coming from behind, so I feel like I'm not qualified to give an opinion on things. Like people asking me questions, I'm like, they're ranked 40,000 ranks ahead of me. Like, it is crazy.
Don't let that make you feel like that you're not, qualified to give them, your 2 cents or whatever.
But also, like, I need to pick up on the trends and just make sure I don't fall into a trap of what's worked in the past. Pick up on this year's trends. That's why I'm biting my pride. Not really pride, but like, getting in Haas. I think that's the main one that's hurt me. And it feels like I'm ripping apart my side, but I just need to get things in place that are hurting me at the moment.
Maybe just ask yourself, is there another way? Just look a bit deeper. Is there another way? What's the
There is Skelton to Derby.
Well, just find it. You might have to pass on one. You know what I mean? That might be the biggest sacrifice that you need to make. Yep. I can't have these 3 guns I want this week. I'll get 2.
Yep.
And I'm not going to sell these, mad things in my side to get these other 2 things that feels very sideways in the long term kind of thing. So, I reckon there's probably another way. Dig into it, because I learnt the hard way last week, and I'm really trying to not put myself in that situation again.
100% agree. But we will bounce back for sure. All right, let's go.
Not this week for me, but
let's go into the top traded in. But this is brought to you by Kyle McGrath Accounting. Get Kyle to do your tax return, and he'll legally maximize your tax refund, whether it's just a basic tax return, accounting for things like rental properties, capital gains, or share trading and crypto trading. Kyle can help you out. No job is too big or small. If you have an individual tax return, right through to a business or company, partnership or trust, even self-managed super funds, Kyle can help you out. You've had Carl do your tax before.
Yeah.
I've asked you this before.
Oh, yeah.
Carl's a great lad.
Carl's going to have to put me on a billboard soon.
So Carl can do your basic tax return for $110. If it is something more complex, then mention our show and he'll help you out on the price. He does have a lot of SuperCoach perks for his members that do play SuperCoach. There is a league code that he's got where he pretty much offers free tax return to the winner. which is pretty good considering there won't be that many people in the league.
Yeah, not too many.
Well, hopefully there are after this season. So if you want to get your tax done by Carl, whether over the phone or in person, then give him a call, 0401 044 839, or head to his Facebook, which is in the description. And Carl is actually part of our WhatsApp now. So he's in there talking SuperCoach, not really talking tax at the moment. Pretty quiet time.
Get out of here with your tax.
And being the name McGrath, he bowls a good line and length as well. So you wouldn't get that because that's cricket terminology.
I get it.
You get it?
Ooh, Glenn McGrath.
All right, let's go to the top 10 traded in. And we've already touched on Matty Nicholson, top traded in 11,000. Payne Haas, 10,000. Crazy how still 10,000 people didn't have him. I thought I was the only one. Number 3, Ryan Pappenhausen, 616,000. Obviously, people going down from a Kalen Ponga, which banks you 180K, which is great. Negative for break even. With Nick Meaney out, he gets the goal kicking, which is really interesting. It looks like he picked up an ankle injury on the weekend, but he plays St. George this week at 3 p.m., which is a nice time slot. Then he plays Manly and the Warriors, and then the Dolphins and South. So
the draw's good.
His draw is quite nice. It's just whether are you a Pappy believer?
Yeah, and I think there's people that do have that sort of hang up of just sort of he has gone down quite a fair bit. And it may happen. You know, I think there's that element with basically a lot of the gun fullbacks, like the top tier ones, your Ponga, Turbo, Latrell, and Pappy. They've all got that sort of, at some point in the year, they might go down. But you just got to take that risk. And he's very cheap, like
616, yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like he scored 60 against Penrith. They off a kick try, but that's how he gets his points. He's a try scorer. He's fast as hell. He runs, he breaks the line. He supports plays. When they're making breaks, his hair's just mopping down the field, and I feel like he's a really good buy. Him and Gutho, it's just because they're hand in hand. It's a tough one because Gutho looks so good, and he's just the man in that side. So it's a bit of a difference. There's a bit of like Pappy's the guy that sort of is the recipient of a lot of the good work from the others, and he obviously chimes in on the good work too and contributes to that, but. With Gutho, it's just all him in this side, and
there is a counter argument to that though. Jerome Hughes is out with a broken hand.
Does it affect?
That means Pappy gets his hand on the ball more. Nick Meaney's out, so he's goal kicking. So that's 2 positives for Ryan Pappenhausen.
Yeah. Maybe he doesn't get his hand on the ball that much more. I still think it goes either through like
Wishart is very
Wishart or Munster, and Harry Grant doing these little things, and I think he just chimes in on the back of that sort of thing. I don't think he's getting too much necessary extra ball, but it maybe could take away from him a little bit because it's just not the perfect unit, but Wishart is super handy. But going back to Gutho, are we allowed to talk about him in hand?
Well, he's next anyway.
Yeah. So the BE's a lot bigger.
A lot smaller.
Yeah, it's a bit of a which way you look at it, right? Yeah, in the negative,
it's bigger negative.
Yeah, and that side, like with him being the man that he's just going through the Christian Tuipulotu, hitting him up. He's got great base. He's a really good worker. So I feel like even in the games, he's not getting too many major attacking stats. If he's not getting major attacking stats in the game, they've probably lost pretty handily because he seems to just be in everything. The thing is, though, it's a tough game this week, and I just feel like against the Storm, it could just bring that back a little bit. But because it's tough, you got to think of it as a long-term play, though. If Gutho's your guy, don't just look at it as a one-week play because Pappy might score more this week. But if you think Gutho's your guy to score more over the next 6 to 8 weeks or however long you're going to have him for, back your gut on whichever one.
I don't think Gutho is just a 1 week player. I think he can be a 3.
Oh, especially when I think he could even be longer even.
Well, he plays Melbourne this week. Then he plays Parramatta, his old club. Expect him to step up for that. Yeah. And then he plays the Gold Coast Titans. So if he scores 86 and 93 over the next 2 weeks, so 86 versus Storm, 93.
I can see that though. He'll get he's a basic guy.
He controls their attack for St. George. So he'll go to 850K. Based on them scores. So if he gets a bit less, he'll make a bit less than that. Could go to 8. Let's just say he goes to 800K makes 125K. That's still a great cash gen option. You can go from Ponga to Gutho and then go back to Ponga in 2 weeks potentially. I think that's a pretty good option. And yeah, like the draw is good. This week, yeah, might be a tougher matchup, but Grant Anderson is named on the right edge for the Melbourne Storm at right centre. Defensively, he doesn't really play centre, so I think St George, whether they're going to target that side already anyway, they've got even more reason to do it. And like they favour that left side anyway, so they're going to go down that edge anyway. Now they've got a reason to do it.
I really like both of them. I'd love to sort of be able to sort of have both. You know what I mean? If I already had one, I'd try to get maybe one in. You don't need to have both.
Yeah.
But they're just the amount of money that they're sort of going to make, and they're cheap. It's handy. And they're looking good too. They're very, very playable. What
do you feel like is a better option? So say Pappy, you get Pappy, he's 132 rolls out of his rolling average next week.
Yep.
So he won't make as much money. Whereas Gutho, Latrell's due back in a couple of weeks. Like I reckon he's a fullback we've missed in SuperCoach terms. I'm really keen on him, so maybe he's your ticket to a Latrell.
Yeah.
Turbo can be your ticket back to Ponga over the tough draw.
It's tough with these guys because if you don't jump on pretty much either, I think they're going to go up a fair bit. And like if they score that much that you're like, oh wow, like I mean, what if Pappy scores like a 130 again? You're kind of like, we got to get Pappy in, and you just have to pay up, and then you'll probably be like, 700 and I don't know. Haven't looked at how below the BEs, but he'd be 750 plus probably if he scored 130.
If he scores 100 this week, it'll create cash gen again, and then depends how he goes next week. I just think the goal kicking is so...
Just scared of being able to miss. I'm just scared I'm going to potentially miss out on a lot of moving parts. It's like when things start going right for you at the start of the year, and you don't have to deal with these fires, you can just really take advantage of all these players that are in great form and undervalued and going to make good money, and it just really builds cash value, and you get the guy in form and you just start skyrocketing. So catch up footy's a bit harder, but we'll dig in and do our best.
The good thing is Ponga's there to sell this week to be able to do that. So if you're going from a Yongi, do you feel like selling Yongi early?
I can do that. Yeah, I could go Ponga to Yongi to Pappy, Yo to Tino, and then I'd have to go Skelton to bottom dollar cheapie, so probably Jenkins.
Yep.
But I just don't love it as much. So I don't know. Part of me kind of likes just getting rid of Yongi, but I still think there's a little bit in him, I feel like he could pop off soon.
Yeah.
But I don't really want to just be waiting too long if I don't have to be.
Yeah, I think it's an awkward time with him where we expected him to be like, okay, he's ready to sell in a couple of weeks, where I think we're going to have to wait a bit longer to sell Yongi. He probably needs a game where he gets multiple attacking stats. I expected one attacking stat to take him to 70.
That's probably the way I'm going. Just had it sink in. I think I just made a decision.
What?
Early decision, yeah. I think I'm going to do that.
Sell Yongi?
Yeah. Because, I said, before, you can't, for me, I was telling you, maybe you can't have all three guns that you want to bring in this week, because that's going to be at the sacrifice of trading potential
people
gun.
You don't want to trade.
Yeah, so I'm thinking maybe just get them two now. They're both undervalued, Tino and Pappy. It's going to help my side. I don't love getting Jenkins into my side. I don't like that.
But it allows you to... is Jenkins the play that's going to help you get that?
Oh, yeah, of course, yes. Yeah, okay. Because I have to free that up to go Skelton to free up that cash up. Potentially could do that.
I don't mind that.
Pretty close to it.
Because I feel like two guns at a cheap price, they are very heavily traded in this week, but at least you're starting from behind, you kind of need to take these little wins where you can. If these people are going to overperform at a lower price, you have too many people in your side that are underperforming at a higher price, so you've got to balance that kind of.
And at the moment, I don't need to worry about doing pods. I just need to worry about not beating myself and leaving. Yeah, every week I'm leaving so much points on the pine, it's hundreds every week.
Oh, Jesus Christ! The Sid versus starts last week were insane.
Yeah, I'm leaving too much there. Just captaincy choices too, like Payne Haas was didn't stand out to me as dog's balls. Like I thought I could never VC him because I just didn't think I'd take. I didn't think he was going to get 140.
Yeah.
I thought even if he gets 100, I probably won't take that.
Yeah.
So for me, I just that's how it ended up with the Ponga and stuff. So
Crazy.
If you be a bit smarter and be a bit safer, like, you look into it a bit deeper and go, yeah, Ponga's like mad. He's mad gun. But they're going up. They're playing away up at Gold Coast. They've got two of their second rollers out. There's a bit of a dynamic there. So if you look into it a little bit harder sometimes, I know it's hindsight and you can easily look back on it and say it that way, but yeah, so I'm just beating myself too much at the moment where I don't need to be trying to get all these other guns in. I can just get more points out of my side by managing my side better.
100%. Unrelated though, I've just got a little story from the weekend with the Patreon side. We've got a Patreon side, so it's pretty much the consensus side, which was the majority picks from everybody's side that sent their side in, and we pretty much had a side that was a high percentage side from a lot of our Patreon members. I give the keys to a different member every week to do trades, captains, vice captains, and all that sort of stuff. I gave it to someone this week just because they sucked up, because we were searching for the highest score in the Patreon group the week before. They didn't reply. So I gave it to this person who I was looking for someone to give the keys to, and he sucked up and he said, he's loved the show or something like that. And I was like, you can have the keys, mate.
And he took him off him.
I kind of took him off him. He told me to do these trades. He said VC Haas, which I was like, I don't know about that, but I did it anyway.
Yeah.
And he said sell Garrick to Tamale. And I looked at that and I'm like, I don't think that's a good trade. So I did Skelton to Tamale. So
you got to just let the people do that. It's a consensus side. Who cares?
Yeah, I know.
Because what are you going to do if it wins anyway?
Exactly.
What are you going to do?
Its name will be Addison.
Donate it to
Addison.
Donate it to charity.
Addison will be the name of
Give it
the
to
team. But yeah, so I kept Garrick and I kept the VC. So, working as a team, I took the VC loop too. It is now ranked 22,000, doing better than us, which always happens every year. Actually, it does. My usual consensus side does a lot better than my first side. I don't want to say I have two sides because I don't want to jeopardize my chances of winning. But this is
you sound pretty sus, bro.
Yeah, this is a community side run by the community, and they made some decisions that nearly didn't go our way last week. So if you are part of the Patreon and your name is, I think Luke was the winner this week. Kiss My Auntie, I think that's their name. Shout out. You're going to be the captain of the side this week. Traded in. Tino, he's number 5. I actually don't think he's a must-have.
Oh, he's a must-have in your side.
Nah.
Come on, bro.
I have him in my side.
Come on, bro. He's 5. Like,
yes.
When I say must-have, like, no, you don't have to.
I agree. But look at all the front row forward options and the second row forward options that are killing it at the moment. I think Elias Katoa, Molly Olakawatu, we've got Horsburgh, May, Haas. Like, there's enough options to fill your side there. And you're making enough cash as well. You don't need him in your side now. You can buy him for $630K in a couple of weeks if you need to wait.
You can wait.
Like, he's good enough. He's good enough that, but like...
I'm potentially entertaining the idea of waiting just because I feel like maybe I'll bring in some other guys with more upside, or maybe I'll target, like, because it might not work for my trade out, especially if I sell Yo to Hines as opposed to Yo to him. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I wouldn't do it.
You wouldn't do it? Not get him? Yeah. Adam Reynolds, number 6. We talked about him. Christian Tuipulotu.
Like, you got to have him at some point, I think. Yeah. Like, he's just going to... Especially the price, man. Like, he's a 70 guy, like on a shit week.
Yeah, that's true. And I just don't think you need him yet. Like, if you can't fit him.
If it's not in your priorities and you've got bigger fish to fry, for sure.
Yeah. Because, he scored 109 the other week with a try, but he's not scoring 140 like Payne Haas.
Yeah, I just feel like if I leave him out this week, he's going to do the Payne Haas thing. That's going to be a scenario.
Christian Tuipulotu, number 7 at 550K. He has a negative 54 break even.
Before we move on to Christian Tuipulotu, I do think the whole Payne Haas, Terrell May, I think they're motivating the shit out of each other.
You reckon?
I think they like what they're watching each other, and they're kind of like, yeah, right, that's pretty good. Let me have a go. And then I think that's sort of like a bit of a thing going on between them at the moment because I think they're really sort of raising the bar and lifting the standard, and so they're all just trying to be right up. Those three boys particularly.
100%.
Like Payne Haas is the big dog, but
yeah, like it just seems like, it's like tit for tat. One of them plays and they're like, oh, I can beat that. Payne Haas 71 minutes, motor, and then Terrell May comes out, plays 65 minutes.
That try too was such a...
Oh, it's a fullback try.
It was so crazy, bro, yeah.
Oh, my laptop's frozen. This is not good.
Do you want to...
I can still see. So Christian Chulpalotu, 550K, negative 54 break even. What are your thoughts on him?
I like him from vibe and like I think he's a good SuperCoach buy. Like he's that, especially because we've identified that they love on that left side. That's the way they're going, and him and Gutho got that great combo. Price wise, I mean, if he wasn't going to make a great deal of money, I'd say it's an awkward price.
Yeah,
like 550 is a bit awkward because I'm not super confident like he's a top of the top guys yet, but at the moment, because none of the others are really taken off, he's on par for sure. I'm a little bit upset that I feel like he'd be a heaps better SuperCoach buy if he was allowed to do his Rainmakers, because I just feel like from a SuperCoach point of view, watching that and sort of getting that in the chats and people doing the Rains, like and then watching him do it if you don't own him, it stings a bit more. Having to put that away, it just sort of, it kind of dulls the excitement a little bit. I just feel like he's a very big vibe pick.
Yep.
And it takes a little bit of that vibe away.
Yep.
I'd like to see him do it just a sneaky, cheeky little one. Like, I don't reckon he can help himself. He loves it.
Hopefully they're winning on the weekend, so Flanagan doesn't have much to say about it.
But he could be a great move for a lot of people too. There's a lot of ways you could do it.
Jamie Humphries, 390K, has a negative 27 break even still. Scored a try last week, and I pretty much said that he was the worst buy out of Mamazelos.
Well, I think he was on paper.
Yeah.
Oh, I think he was better than Mamazelos.
Yes.
I think Mamazelos probably had better job security, but I think he had a little bit more SuperCoach upside and that unknown factor too, because we've seen a bit of Mamazelos.
Yeah.
Not as much, like still. He's not like someone we've seen for years. He just dribbled, when dribbled into the side when Cook's been out previously. But yeah, that was a mad tap, reminded me of that Jet Cleary try for no one's looking. He just boom, see you later. Yeah, I don't know that I'd buy him now.
Yeah,
I think you just grabbed him last week.
Yeah, 390K. It's still not a bad price. He's already made 85K, so the best is gone. But still could make another 100K.
The draw's pretty awkward, I think.
Plays Penrith this week, but then it might open up after that. Cameron Munster. And then Nico Hines round out the top 10. Munster, without Hughes, I think is going to be massive.
Yeah.
In a 5'8" position, it's a bit awkward. But Nico Hines plays the Bulldogs at home this week, which I like. I think the Bulldogs haven't quite hit their defensive efforts that they did last year. But then he plays the Raiders away, which I find a bit tricky.
Yeah, I was looking at Hines. I think it was Hines' draw. I'm pretty sure it was. And I was thinking, it's not that great. I think they've got Manly as well in there.
Yeah, it's it's very...
They've got those mediocre sides that can really turn up, but they're not walkovers, you know what I mean? So, yeah, it's hard to say. I still think that he's looking in good form. Like last week, I think you sort of get that little bit of it. Sometimes you just need to see that little bit more, and I think he showed that there the last week, so pretty keen on him. I think more so now just because of Cleary going down. It's kind of like, I don't know one of them, but...
Yeah,
don't know that I will be able to get him in. It'll just depend on who I decide to part on trade wise.
All right, trades this week. What are you doing? You decided
scenario.
We've already kind of talked.
Yeah,
about
so scenarios ins would be. I won't go through who would go out and the different moving pieces, but I'll just go potential ins and potential outs. So potential ins would be Nico Munster, Tino Pappy, who I said were my top four. Really do like the idea of other guys that's sort of floating around that, like Nicholson, Christian Tuipulotu, Gutherson, and some other sort of cheapie guys, like Stewart and stuff like that as well. So they're the potential ins, I think, and the outs for me would involve potentially Watson, potentially Yeo, potentially Skelton, Brimson, maybe Ponga if I really wanted to do that 3-gun scenario. Oh, and also Yongi possibly going out if I just do it that way. So there's a lot on the – just need to try chop that down a little bit. And I feel like it's going to be – I thought last week was tough. I feel like this might be even tougher.
This is genuinely the first week in a long time where I haven't been settled on trades at all. Like, I still kind of have no idea what I'm doing. I think Ponga goes out for Haas, which leaves me with 70K. Maybe Ponga needs to go out for another fullback. I don't know. I'm still undecided, but I want Nicholson, I want Hines, I want Haas, and I also may get like a Gutho or something. There were team iterations I had which were no Haas. I didn't get Haas, where I got Jaden Campbell for Ponga, I got Hines for Cleary, and I got Nicholson for Gilbert, which left me with...
It's a good name you brought up, Jaden Campbell.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was kind of looking at like that. You know, like there's scenarios where I could do 3 guns but can't afford the Hines, Tino, Munster Papi sort of thing. So there was a scenario where I could get maybe a Adam Reynolds or maybe Jaden Campbell, but I'm kind of like, I don't want to just be taking the second tier option because I can't afford the guy I want.
Yeah.
I'd maybe just rather make other trades and then move to the guy I want a week or two later, I think. So, yeah, that's something to consider too.
Campbell is 700K, and if you buy him in your flex, you can put him straight in halfback after. So maybe I don't need Hines. I don't think Hines is going to hurt us. Like on the weekend, he would have scored 150 in the past. He didn't. So maybe he is kind of flawed because of Trindle and Trindle's dominance.
The side also just put it away. It wasn't necessarily him.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
True. He
They
looked good though. He looked much better. But at the same time, like, do we need to be rushing to get in Hines because of the
50K difference in price? I feel like trust Hines.
Yeah.
I just know that I've had Campbell and there were few of those 38s too often that came about.
Yeah.
But he looks a bit better this, like way more dominant. Like, because for me as a Brimson owner, I was just watching him like, what are you doing, man? Have a go. Like, have a go.
What I like this week, no Keeney. So I think they'll rely on Campbell just a bit more. Keeney had a neck injury, so he's gone into a specialist, but I guess we'll wait and see on that. But my trades, I'll put them in the Patreon chat as soon as I know because I don't know yet at all. All right, let's go to tipping point. This week it's Nicholson, Haas, Papi Gutho, and we're doing DCE because obviously what went down with DCE yesterday, as a Manly fan, I feel awful. But it was going to be turbo.
As a Manly fan.
But as we did last week, shout out to Picklebet. Head over to picklebet.com.au. Use the code TURBO when signing up. We'll put all these in a multi. Last week's multi, $126.50 for the multi.
Gamble responsibly. Chuck 50 cents on it.
It nearly got up.
Right.
It got close to getting up. Anyway.
There was a weird one in there. Oh, it was Humphreys, and he scored too.
Yeah, so
I was thinking when you put there was that, I was thinking he's not going to score.
So last week it was Arthurs, Walsh, Humphreys, Ponga, Starling. Only 2 try scorers out of 5. So gamble responsibly, obviously, but it is 2-all because I've beaten Grant every time. Sorry, is it 2-all? It's 2-all. I've beaten Grant every time, but you've beaten me every time.
I've only played you once, so that's every time though, but that's 1-0 for me versus you. But
maybe Grant's beat me once. But
he beat
Kalen
you
Ponga, I did under 100. Yeah. Got that. Tom Starling, I did under 59, which he scored 53, so I got that. Yeah. Jesse Arthurs, I did over 60. He got.
Wow, yeah.
I did Reece Walsh over 86. I didn't get. And I did Jamie Humphreys under 40.
Damn.
So we didn't get that one. So this week, we'll start off with Matty Nicholson, the most traded in player this week. We'll start at 35.
I'll go over 35 and go to 43.
I'll go over 43 and go over 47.
I'll go over 52.
Ooh. I'll go over 55.
I'll go over 58.
I'll go under 58.
Nice.
All right, Payne Haas. Do we just start at 80?
Wherever you want.
Yeah, we'll start at 80.
I'll go over 80 and go to 85.
Go over 85 and go 90, over 90.
I'm going to go under 90.
Oh, I was going to take under 90.
I just feel like he had massive minutes last week.
Yeah.
So maybe that comes back a little bit and that might help.
100% agree. Pappy against St. George at St. George's home ground. We'll start at 55.
Pappy?
Yep. Goal kicking.
Yep. I'll go over 70.
Ooh, I'll go over 75.
I'll go over 80.
I'll go under 80. All right, Gutho.
They're gritty. I'm a bit like you look at that on paper, that matchup, and it looks nice. But I'm concerned that, like buying Pappy or whatever, I feel like they could turn up for this one.
Yep.
The Dragons,
100%.
not beat them, but not be like a shellacking.
Gutho.
Gutho, where are you starting him at?
We'll go 65.
I'll go over 68.
I'll go over 70.
I'll go over 72.
I'll go under 72. And DCE, I'll start and I'll go over 95.
Wow. I'm going to go under. I think he's in for a big game, but that might not necessarily translate to SuperCoach.
Like
yeah.
Kicking game could be immense.
Yeah, exactly. Stuff like that.
Organising could be on point.
Like a real mad pre-game.
Yeah.
Geez, he handled that speech pretty well. Like it just not slipping up. Like I know some people say he didn't really say a lot without or whatever, but so just got it together without sort of.
I loved that yesterday.
And watching him like with other adults at the table who were adults before he was an adult. It's kind of like they're sort of his seniors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sort of just he's kind of like the smarter one there kind of thing, and then. Gal says something stupid, and then after all dealing with all of that, DCE's like still got the whatever in him to sort of be like, oh, well, you say some dumb things sometimes. That's, you know what I mean? Like, and sort of put it back on him, but in a nice way.
I love DCE.
Yeah, he's pretty mature.
Yeah, and
very
like
mature.
A lot of Manly fans in the Manly groups were like talking shit about him yesterday, and I'm just like, how rare do you see in a 10-year deal that someone sees it out and you're going off at him because he's seen out his contract and he's exploring options, which he's entitled to do. Like a lot of people would kick stones beforehand because they could get bigger money elsewhere.
It shocked me though. I kind of was like, with this close, he's such a, the one club sort of thing is such a,
it's so achievable.
And it gives you so much like ongoing after career thing. Like you can really be the face. He's probably still be a part of the face, but it's taken away a little bit.
Well, you get a job at the Dolphins after.
You reckon he goes there?
Yeah, I think so.
I reckon it'll be a bigger club.
Like who?
Like Roosters, maybe Dogs or something.
Nah, Dolphins.
If he goes to a Queensland club, I reckon, I don't know, maybe Broncos. Could they find a way to get him in? Imagine Ben Hunt, hooker, DCE playing like 5'8" or something. I wouldn't really work. But Adam, just having those three in the halves.
Is man 14? Yeah. That'd be so funny. Captains this week. I'm going Tommy at the moment.
Tommy, yeah. So that's a really awkward one. This is a funny one, right? Because of the whole doubt. I'd love him to play early and chuck a VC. It'd be such a nice VC, just to insurance in case he's not right.
Second last game,
because two things can happen. He can not be right where he's like, oh, I'm going to go out and open it, and then he goes bang, and it's gone, and he's out, or just the part where he holds back and only goes to 70% mentally in his mind and doesn't really go to the game.
We can VC him and Captain Terrell May.
I might even look at that.
Yeah, it's an option for sure.
Because I was looking otherwise. My thing was like, oh, well, I'll just captain him. And then my mind was like, oh, if he's out for whatever reason, then I just take my VC. But that gives you the insurance of the doubt that I've had. Oh, if he's not all right. Yeah, I might do that.
As long as you have an option to take out and to captain, then make sure
I think I could work because I've got like a couple of Tigers players.
We can take out Luke Metcalf.
Yeah, I could.
If you're playing Metcalf.
Yeah.
And then put the captaincy on who's got by Newcastle. If you've got a Newcastle player. Greg Marju.
Yeah, or Tui Simpkins.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Oh, Tui Simpkins plays for the Titans.
What's wrong with that?
He already played on the Friday night.
Oh, yeah. It was because he was on the bye a couple of weeks ago. I was like, I can just do him anytime.
All right. Well, thank you for tuning in this week. Been all over the place a little bit because we don't know where we're at. But
we're rattled.
We're rattled. That's the heading. We're rattled. Yeah. But yeah, thank you for tuning in once again, and we'll be back, baby. We'll see you next week.